Just before I walked down the aisle, my father slipped me a note. Fake a fall. Now. I stumbled on purpose, stopping the wedding. When the ambulance arrived, what he said next shocked me. I stood at the altar in my custom Tom Ford tuxedo, watching Vanessa walk toward me in her $42,000 Vera Wang dress. She looked perfect, like always, blonde hair cascading in those loose waves that photographers loved. That smile, the one that made venture capitalists pull out their checkbooks, the one that had made me fall in love 2 years ago at a tech conference in Austin. 300 guests stood as the string quartet played Pachelbel's Canon. The ceremony was being live-streamed to my company's social media, 84,000 people watching in real time. We were Silicon Valley's power couple, the startup founder and the marketing genius. Forbes had done a profile on us 3 months ago, the 200 million love story. My father stood beside me as best man. Strange choice, people had said. Usually, you pick your college roommate or your business partner. But Dad had insisted, said he wouldn't miss this moment for anything. Vanessa reached the halfway point. The music swelled. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows of the historic church we'd paid $15,000 to rent. Then Dad leaned close. His hand brushed mine. Something crinkled between our palms. A folded piece of paper. Read it, he whispered. His voice was tight, urgent. Right now. I unfolded the paper. 5 words in his handwriting. Fake a fall. Right now. I looked at him. His face was stone, but his eyes were screaming. Dad! What? Trust me, son. Fall. Make it dramatic. Do it now. Vanessa was 10 feet away. 8 feet. Her father, Gerald Morrison, real estate mogul, beaming with pride, walked her forward. Her mother dabbed tears in the front row. The governor was in row 3. My board of directors filled the left side of the church. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was insane. This was my wedding day. The biggest day of my life. We'd spent 9 months planning this. $280,000 on the wedding alone. But something in Dad's voice, that tone he'd used when I was 7, and he'd yanked me back from stepping into traffic without looking. I took 1 step toward Vanessa, extended my hand toward hers, then hooked my shoe on the edge of the carpet runner. I went down hard, shoulder first. My head cracked against the marble altar step. Pain exploded behind my eyes. Real pain. I hadn't planned to hit that hard. The music stopped. Someone screamed. "Trevor!" Vanessa shrieked. She dropped her bouquet, $3,000 worth of white roses and orchids, and ran. But Dad got there first. His head! He's bleeding! Someone call 911! Dad's voice boomed through the church. I touched my temple. My fingers came away red. Jesus Christ. This wasn't fake anymore. Blood. Actual blood. Get back! Dad barked at Vanessa as she tried to kneel beside me. Give him space! He needs air! I'm his fiancée! Vanessa snapped. Her voice had an edge I'd never heard before. Trevor, baby, are you okay? Can you hear me? He needs a hospital, Dad said. His voice had that CEO tone. The one that ended board meetings. The one that made investors fall in line. Everyone stay back. Paramedics are coming. He just needs to sit up, Vanessa insisted. She grabbed my arm, hard. Her perfectly manicured nails dug into my skin. Trevor, stand up. We can finish the ceremony. You're fine. He's not fine, Dad's voice thundered. Look at his head. He could have a concussion, a skull fracture. It's nothing, Vanessa said, but her voice had changed. Gone was the soft, concerned fiancé. This was something else, something sharp. We've waited 9 months for this. We have 300 guests. The photographer only gave us a 4-hour window. We are not stopping the wedding over a little bump. The church went silent, dead silent. Dad stared at her. My son is bleeding from the head and you want to finish the ceremony? It's his wedding day. Vanessa's mask was slipping. Her voice went shrill, desperate. He can go to the hospital after. We have vendors, contracts. The reception venue charges $5,000 per hour whether we use it or not. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Uncomfortable shifting. Camera phones coming out. Sirens wailed outside, getting closer. The paramedics burst through the church's double doors 90 seconds later. 2 of them, a woman in her 40s, a man maybe 30. They had a gurney, medical bags. They moved fast. What happened? The woman asked. Her name tag said J. Martinez. He fell, Dad said. Hit his head on the marble step. He's bleeding. Possible concussion. Martinez knelt beside me, checked my pupils, my pulse, the wound on my temple. We need to transport him, she said. Head injuries are serious. Sir, can you tell me your name? Trevor. Trevor Hawkins. Good. Trevor, we're going to take you to Pacific Medical Center. Get you checked out, okay? They loaded me onto the gurney, started wheeling me toward the doors. I'll ride with him, Vanessa declared. She was following us, her dress trailing, her mother trying to hold her back. No, Dad blocked her path. His 6'2" frame filled the doorway. Next of kin only. I'm about to be next of kin, Vanessa shouted. Her face was red, twisted, nothing like the woman I'd proposed to. I'm his wife, but you're not. Not yet. Dad climbed into the ambulance beside me. You stay here. Handle the guests. Explain what happened. You can't do this! Vanessa's voice turned vicious, wild. Trevor, Trevor, tell him I'm coming with you. The doors slammed. The lock clicked. The ambulance pulled away. Sirens screaming. I'm Trevor Hawkins, 36 years old, founder and CEO of Streamline Analytics, a data optimization platform that had just raised $47 million in Series B funding. I'd built the company from nothing. 7 years of 18-hour days, sleeping in the office, eating ramen, pitching to investors who told me my idea would never work, until it did. We'd signed contracts with Google, Amazon, Microsoft. Our platform was processing 3 billion data points daily. Revenue was projected to hit $80 million this year, and Vanessa had been there for the last 2 years of it. I'd met her at TechCrunch Disrupt in Austin. She was working for a marketing agency, she'd said, specialized in brand development for startups. She'd approached me at the networking mixer after my panel on AI-driven analytics. Your presentation was brilliant, she'd said, smiled that smile. But your marketing is terrible. Excuse me? Your company website looks like it was built in 2005. Your social media is non-existent. Your brand message is confusing. She'd handed me her card. Vanessa Morrison, brand strategy consultant. I can fix that if you're interested. I'd been interested. She'd overhauled our entire brand in 6 weeks. New website, social media strategy, press releases. She'd gotten us featured in TechCrunch, Wired, and Fast Company. Our brand recognition had tripled, and somewhere in those late-night strategy sessions, between the coffee runs and the whiteboard brainstorming, we'd fallen in love. Or I had anyway. She was brilliant, beautiful, connected. She knew everyone in Silicon Valley, introduced me to investors, got us invitations to exclusive events, made me look good in front of the media. You're my muse, I'd told her the night I proposed. Rooftop restaurant, champagne, a $45,000 engagement ring. You made all of this possible. We made it possible, she'd corrected. Together. The wedding planning had been intense. Vanessa insisted on perfection. The right venue, the right photographer, the right flowers. Everything had to be Instagram-worthy, shareable, part of our brand. This isn't just our wedding, she'd explained. It's a statement. It shows investors we're stable, committed, serious people building serious things. I'd agreed, let her handle everything, signed the checks, showed up to the tastings and venue tours. My father had been skeptical from the beginning. Something's off about her, he'd said 6 months ago over dinner. Just the two of us. Steakhouse in Palo Alto. I can't put my finger on it. You can't put your finger on it because there's nothing to find, I'd said, defensive. She's amazing. She's helped build this company. Has she? Or has she just taken credit for your work? Dad, I'm just saying, be careful. When someone's too perfect, too eager, too convenient, there's usually a reason. I'd dismissed it, told myself he was being overprotective, that he couldn't accept I was getting married, moving on with my life. But now, lying in the back of that ambulance, blood trickling down my face, I wasn't so sure. Dad, I said quietly. The siren covered our conversation. Martinez was in back with us, checking my vitals, but the engine noise made it hard to hear. What the hell is going on? Dad pulled out his phone, opened a folder, started scrolling through photos, text messages, bank statements, legal documents, court records. I hired a private investigator 3 weeks ago, Dad said. His voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that meant something terrible was coming. Remember David Chen? Works out of San Francisco? Former FBI, 23 years investigating financial crimes? I knew David. He'd consulted for my company on a security audit. I had a feeling about Vanessa, Dad continued. Something wasn't adding up. She was too perfect, too eager to get married, too focused on the timeline. My stomach dropped. What did you find? Dad handed me the phone. The first photo was a marriage certificate from Clark County, Nevada, dated 3 years ago. Vanessa Morrison married to Julian Garcia. She's already married, Dad said, to a guy named Julian Garcia, investment banker. They've run this scam 4 times before. I stared at the photo. Vanessa in a simple dress, different hair, standing next to a man I'd never seen, smiling that same smile. It's a marriage fraud scheme, Dad explained. They target wealthy men in tech. Vanessa plays the brilliant marketing consultant. Julian stays in the background. They get married, bigamy, technically, since she never divorces Julian. Then, 6 months later, Julian files charges. Vanessa files for annulment claiming she didn't know about the first marriage. But by then, community property laws have kicked in. She walks away with half of everything you acquired during the marriage. My brain couldn't process it, couldn't make sense of it. She loved me. She loved your Series B funding. Dad's voice was gentle, sad. Look at the next photo. Email chains. Vanessa and Julian, planning everything, discussing asset division, calculating my net worth, laughing about the mark falling for the fake pregnancy scare 2 months ago that had turned out to be nothing. He actually cried when I told him about the miscarriage, Vanessa had written. This is going to be our easiest target yet. The paramedic looked over. Sir, your heart rate just spiked. Are you okay? I'm fine, I whispered, but I wasn't. My hands were shaking. My vision kept going gray. The other victims, Dad said. David track them down. Software engineer in Seattle lost $2.3 million. Cryptocurrency founder in Austin, $4.7 million. Biotech CEO in San Diego. His company went bankrupt during the divorce. He lost everything. More photos, more evidence. Hotel receipts showing Vanessa and Julian meeting regularly. Bank records showing money being funneled into offshore accounts. Text messages discussing the wedding timeline. Push for summer, Julian had written. The longer he waits, the more suspicious he gets. We need that marriage certificate. I'm trying, Vanessa had replied. He wanted to wait until Q3 because of the product launch. I convinced him June was better. Julian was in the church today, Dad said. Row 14. Dark suit, beard, wire rim glasses. He was recording everything on his phone. They need video proof of the ceremony for their lawsuit. I felt like I was going to vomit. All of it was fake? All 2 years? All of it. The ambulance pulled into the emergency bay at Pacific Medical Center. Through the window, I could see news vans. Someone had tipped them off. My phone was exploding with notifications. The live stream had captured everything. Vanessa screaming about photographers and contracts while I bled on the marble floor. The internet was already tearing her apart. How did you know? I asked as they wheeled me toward the ER doors. How did you know to check? Dad looked at me. His eyes were sad, tired. Son, I've spent 42 years building companies, negotiating deals, reading people. I know a hostile takeover when I see one. He paused. And 3 weeks ago, she made a mistake. Asked me about your stock options, very specific questions about vesting schedules, exit strategies, what happens to equity in a divorce. She said she was just curious, trying to understand the business. That's what she wanted you to think. But nobody asks those questions unless they're planning for a specific outcome. The ER doors opened, fluorescent lights, antiseptic smell, nurses in scrubs. Mr. Hawkins? A doctor approached. Young, maybe 35. Name tag said, Dr. Patricia Torres, Emergency Medicine. I'm Dr. Torres, let's get you checked out. They wheeled me into a bay, started running tests, CT scan, neurological exam, cleaned the wound on my temple, 4 stitches, they said. My phone kept buzzing, 53 missed calls, mostly Vanessa, some from her parents, some from wedding guests, and one from a number I didn't recognize. Dad was on his phone in the corner, calm, methodical, making calls. Arthur, James Hawkins, I need you to file paperwork immediately. Asset freeze on every account Vanessa Morrison has touched. Full forensic audit. Restraining order. And I need you to contact Agent Wilson at the FBI. Yes, the marriage fraud case. Tell him we have video evidence. Tell him Julian Garcia was at the church today. Yes, we have him on camera. Arthur Richardson, my attorney, 30 years of practice, handled all my corporate legal work. Dr. Torres came back with results. No skull fracture, mild concussion. You'll need rest. No screens for 48 hours. Follow up with your primary care physician in a week. Can I leave? In about an hour. We want to monitor you a bit longer. My phone rang again. The unknown number. Dad looked at it. Don't answer that. Who is it? Probably Julian, trying to feel out the situation. But I answered anyway. Put it on speaker. Trevor Hawkins. Mr. Hawkins. A man's voice. Smooth. Professional. This is Agent Kevin Wilson, FBI. I'm calling regarding Vanessa Morrison and Julian Garcia. Dad moved closer. Agent Wilson. James Hawkins. Trevor's father. We've been in contact with your office. Yes, sir. Mr. Chen sent over the preliminary evidence this morning. We've been building this case for 8 months. You're the 5th victim to come forward. 5th? I said. Vanessa and Julian have been running this scam since 2019. We estimate they've stolen approximately $14 million across 7 victims, but most victims don't report it. They're too embarrassed. They sign settlements with NDAs to make it go away quietly. My hands were shaking again. So, what happens now? We have warrants for both of them. Marriage fraud across state lines is federal. Wire fraud. Identity theft. We've been waiting for the right moment to move. Today's wedding was perfect. Julian was there, on camera, participating in the scheme. We have surveillance video. Your live stream gave us everything we needed. Where are they now? We arrested Julian outside the church 45 minutes ago. We're picking up Vanessa at the reception venue in approximately 10 minutes. The line clicked. Hold music played. Dad squeezed my shoulder. It's over. She can't touch you. Can't touch the company. She's done. How long have you known? I asked. How long have you been working with the FBI? 3 weeks. Since David found the first marriage certificate. I contacted Agent Wilson immediately. He asked me to let the wedding proceed. Said they needed evidence of both of them working together. Said it would strengthen the case. So, I was bait. You were protected. I wasn't going to let you actually marry her. That's why I gave you the note. That's why I insisted on being best man, so I could stop it at the last second. Agent Wilson came back on the line. Mr. Hawkins, we have Vanessa in custody. She's being transported to the San Francisco field office now. You'll need to come in and give a formal statement. Tomorrow is fine. Bring your attorney. What about the wedding guests? The media. We'll handle that. We're issuing a press release in 1 hour. This is a major case for us. White-collar crime, high-profile defendants. It's going to be national news. He wasn't wrong. By that evening, evening, the story was everywhere. CNN, Fox News, The New York Times, Silicon Valley wedding scam exposed. Tech CEO saved from marriage fraud by father's last-minute intervention. The livestream clip, Vanessa screaming about photographers while I bled on the floor, had 3.7 million views. Twitter was destroying her. Reddit had 11 different threads analyzing every detail. Someone found photos of the previous victims, created a timeline, mapped out the entire scam. Vanessa's social media accounts were deleted within 2 hours, but screenshots lived forever. People found the fake pregnancy texts, the emails discussing asset division, everything. Julian's investment banking firm released a statement. We terminated Mr. Garcia's employment effective immediately. His actions do not reflect the values of our organization. Vanessa's parents issued a statement through their lawyer. We had no knowledge of our daughter's alleged criminal activities. We are devastated and cooperating fully with authorities. My board of directors sent flowers to my hospital room. Take all the time you need, the note said. We're here for you. I spent that night in the hospital. Observation for the concussion. Dad stayed with me. We didn't talk much. Just sat there, watching the news coverage, processing what had happened. I'm sorry, Dad said around midnight, for putting you through that, for making you fall, for not telling you sooner. You saved my life. I almost cost you your company. If I'd been wrong, if she'd been legitimate, you'd hate me forever. But you weren't wrong. No, but I was terrified I was. Right up until the moment you hit that floor. My phone kept buzzing. Messages from friends, colleagues, investors. Everyone had seen the news. Dude, are you okay? Holy shit, I can't believe this. I always thought something was off about her. You dodged a major bullet. One message stood out. From Derek Walsh, my college roommate. The guy who should have been my best man. Your dad is a fucking hero. Also, I'm sorry I ever doubted him. Drinks on me when you're recovered. At 2:17 a.m., Arthur Richardson called. Trevor, I've completed the preliminary audit. Vanessa accessed your account 17 times over the past 6 months. Small transfers. Nothing large enough to trigger alerts. She moved approximately $340,000 into offshore accounts. $340,000? We can recover most of it. The FBI is freezing everything connected to the case, but it's going to take time. What about the wedding costs? Non-recoverable. The vendors were legitimate. They fulfilled their contracts. The venue, the caterer, the photographer, all paid. You're out approximately $280,000 on the wedding itself. It didn't matter. Not really. Not compared to what I could have lost. The formal FBI interview happened 3 days later. Arthur came with me. We spent 4 hours going through everything. Timeline, financial records, text messages, emails. Agent Wilson was mid-40s, former prosecutor. He'd been tracking marriage fraud cases for 12 years. Vanessa and Julian are looking at 15 to 20 years, he said. Federal sentences, no parole. This was sophisticated, organized. They planned everything down to the last detail. Except they didn't plan on my father, I said. No, they underestimated him. That's what ultimately brought them down. What about the other victims? We're contacting all of them, offering them the chance to testify. Most will probably accept deals. They'll get some restitution, avoid the publicity. But this case, it's going to trial. We want to make an example. The trial was set for 8 months later. Federal court, San Francisco. I testified for 6 hours. Told the jury everything. The relationship, the proposal, the wedding planning, the note from my father, the fall, the ambulance, the revelation. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Vanessa Morrison, 18 years federal prison. Julian Garcia, 22 years federal prison. Restitution ordered. $11.4 million to be split among all victims. 6 months after the trial, I'm sitting in my office. The company is doing better than ever. We just closed our Series C. $120 million valuation hit $800 million. We rebranded. New website, new marketing strategy. This time, I hired a reputable firm with verified credentials and references. My father retired last month, sold his company. He calls every Sunday. We talk about business, life, the future. Have you dated anyone? He asked last week. No, not ready. Take your time. There's no rush. How did you know? I asked him. Really? How did you know to check? He was quiet for a moment. She asked the wrong question at the wrong time, and she didn't react right when I tested her. Tested her? At Christmas dinner. Remember? I mentioned my estate planning, said I was updating my will. She asked very specific questions about inheritance law, survivorship rights, spousal benefits. That could have been normal curiosity. It wasn't the questions. It was the intensity, the focus. She wasn't making conversation. She was gathering intelligence. So you knew? I suspected. That's when I hired David, and David confirmed everything. The wedding ring I'd bought her, that $45,000 engagement ring, was seized as evidence, eventually sold at auction. Proceeds went to the victim's restitution fund. The wedding venue sent me a refund. Unexpected. A gesture of goodwill after the media attention. $15,000. I donated it to a nonprofit that helps fraud victims. My inbox still has Vanessa's emails. I haven't deleted them. Can't quite bring myself to. Sometimes late at at night, when I can't sleep, I read through them, looking for signs, for red flags I missed. They're all there, hidden in plain sight. The way she pushed for joint bank accounts, the way she asked about stock options, the way she insisted on a summer wedding, the way she panicked when I fell, not because she cared if I was hurt, but because the ceremony was failing. I missed it all, but Dad didn't. Last week, someone sent me a message on LinkedIn, a woman named Rachel Torres. Subject line, "Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. You don't know me, but I was one of Vanessa Morrison's victims. My ex-husband was her second mark. We lost our company in the divorce, lost everything. I've been rebuilding for 3 years. When I heard about your case, about the FBI investigation, about your father stopping the wedding, I cried because someone finally fought back. Someone finally exposed them. Thank you for testifying. Thank you for going public. Thank you for making sure they couldn't do this to anyone else. You saved countless future victims." Rachel. I read that message 5 times, printed it, put it on my office wall, because that's what matters. Not the money I lost, not the embarrassment, not the fact that I fell for a con artist. What matters is that she's in prison, that Julian's in prison, that they can't destroy anyone else's life. My father saw through her when I couldn't. He handed me a note that said 5 words, "Fake a fall, right now." And those 5 words saved everything. The wedding that never happened. The marriage that would have destroyed me. The scam that ended with justice instead of ruin. People ask me if I'm angry, if I hate Vanessa for what she did. I'm not angry, not anymore. I'm grateful, because the fall that stopped my wedding saved my life, and the father who made me stumble caught me before I fell too far to recover.